All right. Welcome to we all said that's on the agenda, to rename these and figure out what we name them so we can do a thumbnail for them. But I'll just say Fix Our World Friday, meta project meeting at the moment. We're live for the first time on both Facebook and YouTube, so we'll see how that does for technology. I don't know if it uses more bandwidth when that happens. And he can add himself actually, if he wants to, or I can add him. There we go. Yeah.
Hello. Excuse my crazy hair. I just came from a meeting and haven't had time.
It's all right. You're looking very Einstein-esque.
Yeah. All right. Good to hear.
I expect there to be more brilliance with that hair.
There's a direct correlation, so we'll see.
Absolutely. It's like the brain power pushes the hair out and it sticks up. That's my excuse for my whole life. All right. So we're live for the first time on both Facebook and YouTube. It's funny because it's posted as you on Facebook.
Okay.
And then it was like, had your picture there, because I guess it's your profile picture
right
on the Facebook one. So one of the things we don't need to, but could discuss today is naming this meeting, whatever it is, and then I can do a thumbnail so that can be what it is. Because both on YouTube where it's just gray and on Facebook where it shows your picture, I think it's better to have one. That being said, I made one for our solution raising. There was the two brains. And I think less people click on it because it's not a picture of us. Like they don't actually know what it is. And so it's like one versus the other, but what could just be maybe a picture of us, a thumbnail, and I could use that and then we could name that whatever the thing is.
I wonder.
Or something like the last time. I don't know. It's possibly just the way that I did the thumbnail where it kind of looks like it's going to be an explanation cartoon as opposed to a conversation. Whereas if we name this something much more clear than solution raising, then then doing the thumbnail, it could be the best of both worlds, or it's not. It looks more professional, slightly more professional because I'm not great at making the thumbnails, but I can do it. I've been doing it. And then hopefully next week, last night, as I'm sure both of you realized, I posted our project because Jim wasn't posting it. Or sorry, the group projects. And so we now have 20 members. And that is from nobody commenting on it, about 8 people liking it, and Jim not being the one to post it. So I think it will be a popular group. If and when Jim posts it, or we're able to help the algorithm up its salience. And what we want, sorry, Bentley, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, he also hasn't added to the GameBee homepage yet, but I imagine that'll happen.
Yes, exactly. And then people can see what the different project or what the different groups are. And I think projects is one that most people want to join because they're either looking for a project. That and the sovereignty one are the two, and then the wiki just because that's if they want to help get the like team together and the information. They've also asked me to be an admin on the GameBee page, or admin and moderator. I don't actually know what the difference between, I think it's moderator. And I was like, well, we'll try. I can't really type a lot during the day. So I'm like, as long as it's not a lifelong commitment, I can pull out without GameBee falling apart. Yes, I will try. I don't know what that had to do with anything. But so I think last week we had talked about having, instead of this kind of being a board meeting, having more of a topic and then talking about that so that anyone could come and join. And so the topic we had picked for this week, or briefly discussed last week, was poking holes in Omega Rule, was figuring out like codes of conduct that we want to hold during these. But that might be something we want to start doing, but more solidifying what this meeting looks like for when people come and join. What are the rules for when they're on camera versus just in the comments, right? Like everyone can watch right now in the comments. They're not. We have 0 viewers. But yeah, if they've come a couple times, or can they just watch a couple, get the gist of it, and then say, yes, I'm comfortable, I know what is going on, and then come and participate.
I think we're fine to end up with that rule where you have to have attended in order to go. I don't think we start there, because if we're just trying to get people to show up, we kind of want that to be a low bar. And then over time, especially if we're starting to see people show up that have no idea how anything works, we're like, all right, let's start to talk about some requirements for what you have to have done and the level of participation, you have to have shown in order to show up.
So I guess part of it is, what is our objective for this hour? Not this hour, but this hour ongoing, right? It's
right.
From what I understand, it's to move the meta project forward and yet not move the meta project forward, right? We're not having this be a board meeting for like, where's our next steps? It's more, how can we bring people to a meeting where you're representing your project, you're also you, and then how do we discuss a topic that will generate more interest, generate like you want to participate in. And then from there, once we have more participation, we kind of figure out the first, like it's already this is already the meta project, right? Meeting and having conversations as well as the Facebook group. But the first thing we make together, right? That might be tech related, app related, spreadsheet related, right? Like could be literally anything. We're already doing those things. So yes, thoughts, comments, or do we want to start a topic and talk about code of conduct?
So I think one thing is, I believe there was talk about alternating this meeting. So we do still have a board meeting, but I think we said it probably doesn't need to be every week. And then every other week we alternate something else that's not board meeting, but is, TogetherTec, metaproject related.
Got it.
And Bethany, it looked like you were going to say something.
No, I've forgotten now. But I think you're right. We were going to do alternating topic. I just couldn't remember which time was for which meetings because we talked about several different options.
Yeah.
I need to write something down next time.
Yeah. So the idea is both of our weekly meetings are alternating. So the Saturday one is project raising 1 week, solution raising the next, and we might also be doing time differences, right? I think in a 1 month period, having 2 of those at 2 o'clock and 2 of those at 9 o'clock is good for our Australia, New Zealand. The European people can kind of come to either, depending on which one works for them. But doing it that way. And then this one's at 11 a.m. and we're alternating between having it be a topic that people can come to and have a conversation. You don't need to know what's going on with the meta project, and a board meeting type, how do we move the meta project forward? Right. It sounds like this meeting's a little bit of both as we hammer that out.
Right. And I think as you've said, they're both versions of the meeting that we're alternating between. All of them are still involved with the meta project. One of them is the board meeting, how do we want to operate and what are the rules? And then the other one will be the topics to do, like what problems are we trying to solve? What questions are we trying to answer to do with the meta project, and the kinds of things that we'd be talking about. And like the obvious example that jumps to my mind is trust, where we're saying at some point we want to have a conversation around what does it mean to be able to trust an app? What does it mean to be able to trust like the information, etc.
Topics that are more, they touch many of the projects that we're doing.
Exactly. Actually, one of the problems that we're trying to solve for projects in general, which would be, TogetherTec, Reasons Go, Wiki Election, all of them have to sort of have that concept of what do we need to do for you to trust us?
Trust us, damn it. That works. I find.
That's it. We're done.
World solved. Let's call it a day. Let's go to Hawaii, celebrate, and call it a day. All right. So do we want to actually set a schedule as in for both this and the tomorrow one? Tomorrow is, of course, the project raising for Richie's project, culture creation. And then the week after we are doing, I've yet to post it in game B, but the solution raising. Do we want that solution raising to be at 2, or do we want it, you know what I mean? Like, do we want 2 2s and then 2 9s, or do we want 2 9 2 9?
I mean, I think you'd kind of have to, like 2 9 2 9 wouldn't work unless we're planning on having like projects always be at 9 and solutions always being at 2. Yeah. You might go 9 9 2 2. Yeah, I'm fine with either way. Like it's, I think
so
we might want to try it 2, like 1 or 2 times before we like think about do we want this to be a regular thing? Because if no one shows up and there's no movement, then meh. But if it's way better, then maybe we just move them all to 2.
Yeah, well, part of the reason of not having them at 2 is I don't want my 2 days I have off with my kid to be right in the middle,
Right.
where I can't do anything really before and I can't really do anything after, with my health challenges as well. Anyone else can figure out how to work around 2 o'clock, but so doing it twice a month is fine, but I don't want to do it every Saturday at 2.
Right.
But that also could mean that if that is what we decide and that's what moves the project forward, I just come to every other one, right? And then we don't have it at 9 a.m. And it will, full disclosure, probably be the solution raisings, because those are the ones that I enjoy. It's not true. I enjoy all of them. It's really fun to sit with someone's project. But also the solution raisings have a little bit more of my heart at the moment. Although I'm really looking forward to Richie's one tomorrow. So are we going to do it just on a case by case basis? Like whoever we kind of have lined up, if they're from Australia, we'll do it at 2, and otherwise it's at 9. Like we have these 2 time slots.
And then we see how the 2 p.m. goes and we adjust from there. If the end goal is just to move the project forward, if we try it at 2 and there's better traction, there's an argument to be made for having it at 2 more often.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
And I might not be able to make tomorrow. I'm going to try, but something came up during that time.
Okay.
It's here at 4 o'clock. And I know, I believe since it's at 2, the other person we have that's in that part of the hemisphere is Kylie, and she has a project, Commons Trust. I'm going to butcher the name, but she also wants to do a project raising on that. And I want to do one on that too. It's a really cool concept. And so hers would be at 2 p.m. as well. And she's coming to Richie's, I believe, tomorrow. And then she might come to a solution raising as well.
Cool. And you said she's in or near the same time zone? She's in Australia. So
Okay.
She's in that
ridiculously waking up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. can be part of it. It's a little much. Though there are, Jonas does it. Richie also. Jonas is in New Zealand and they're in Melbourne. So there's a couple hours difference between. But both ridiculously early.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with this time zone thing. Getting rid of them all. All right. Do we want to talk about codes of conduct?
Or name? Do you want to come up with a name first?
Oh, yeah. Name would be great. My best use.
The name for which, sorry?
For this. For both,
meeting.
for, I guess. Both of them, though, I guess. So we want a name for when we have the meta project, like the board meeting,
right.
And one for when we have a topic that is more relevant. What we might want to do, maybe not, I'll run it by you since Idea Cafe is more my baby, but calling the one that is topic related Idea Cafe and even running it in the same type of format where we formate a question or not and just have a topic, but everyone takes a brief part to share in the beginning and then just have an open discussion for the rest of it. Or does that resonate with people? Because then I feel like it's not introducing yet another concept.
Yeah. I think that's worth trying out. And again, we can see if the fact that word is already floating around, if that helps, piggyback on that understanding. And then this meeting is still the board meeting, so we alternate between the board meetings and the Idea Cafes.
Perfect. And I already have the logo Dennis made for that,
right.
The coffee, cool. The rainbow coffee cup with the question mark smoke, and then it's just because it's just about crafting the topic into a question, which helps focus it anyway. In all honesty, because it's trust. How do we build trust with our customers, right? And then it's not about having the right answer. It's about having a space to share and, going about doing that. Having an open conversation with the rest of it. So Idea Cafe, I feel like it needs another tag, because there's Idea Cafe, the channel, and then we talk about Game B every Tuesday on there. But we're not talking about projects. We're talking about Game B as a whole.
Yeah.
Right? Current Facebook group and Game B in the future. And anyone can come to that one. This one is theoretically designed for people to bring their projects to and represent their project. So, I mean, Idea Cafe projects or meta
Idea Cafe
project.
for Game B projects, or yes, that's something like that. So it's not just Idea Cafe. I think that makes sense.
So Idea Cafe for Game B projects. It's very wordy, but
Yeah.
it gets the point across. It's like, all right.
I'm definitely
bring your
open
ideas.
to, more concise names, but that at least gets the point across.
Yeah, and then what do we want to?
I think that's good for now.
Awesome. And then what do we want to call our meta project board meeting?
I think this is fine for now. I think it won't really TogetherTec board meeting. The current
TogetherTec
title.
board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And then when we lay it out like that too, it'll be a lot easier to also people know which one to come to. The calendar on the Facebook site is still very, like, I have to add it to the events, have a new event every time because you can't have the same event with a different URL that people are going, like, it's a little weird. But having one calendar that does say what we're doing as it comes up, and people can link to, like, watch here, participate here, because especially if it's the there's clearly going to be a lower barrier for participation to the Idea Cafe than to the board meeting, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You probably need to know what's going on to be at the board meeting. You don't necessarily need to know what's going on you can come and just have a project and participate in the Idea Cafe. You just maybe need to know the basic structure, which isn't that hard. 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes each to share, and then open conversation. So TogetherTec board meeting thumbnail, which I might do with a picture of the four of us, me, you, like with Jonas, and just take it out of one of our ones on, because I won't think I'd be able to take it out of one of these ones because I don't have access to the YouTube channel behind the scenes. And I don't want to because I think it would get me out of my Idea Cafe and crowd democracy, which I don't want. So anyway, I can take a picture, a screenshot from one of those videos, and just can be a placeholder for now, so people can kind of see what it looks like. Because otherwise, I'm working with their thumbnails, and a lot of them are like people and like things that don't really work for what we're doing. So I think having our four faces actually works. Board meeting superimposed across it, or whatever. I'll figure it out. It won't be perfect, but it will be a placeholder. And so do we want then to set next week? This one's kind of a board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Is next week we want to have an Idea Cafe?
Yeah.
Sure. Sounds good.
And do we want to pick a topic / question? That might be the easiest, or we can pick 3 and then send it to vote.
I'm fine either way. So
yeah, if we have 3 that we think are promising.
Yeah.
I think there is also, because we're already asking the 3 questions for the solution raising, I wonder if we just want to pick it for the first 1 or 2 and then wait until we start getting an audience in the actual channel and then start posting questions there once we actually have like people interacting and more members and that kind of thing.
Yep, that sounds like a good idea. So how do we want to, I think does trust resonate with everyone as something we can talk about?
That's definitely the top of my list. So I'm not sure if it's the same for everyone else, but.
So then we just need to craft it into a type of question that anyone can answer, which is just,
right.
I think, how can we get strangers to trust us in our projects? Or
I was thinking like, what do you need to trust an organization? Or something like that, where it's like because I can't necessarily answer what people need to trust, Wiki Election or Reason Score, but I can say what I need in order to trust, Google or Wiki Election or anything else.
Yeah, no, and I think that's an important, because it's easier to answer as the individual. Like
right.
I also have an opinion of what I would trust and not trust. I clearly am going to trust Wiki Election and Reason Score more than a random other one because I know the 2 of you, right? And so that's very different than, it's like, but yeah, I can't have that as my metric. I need to know the person and have a conversation with them to trust their their app, right? Get a feel for the kind of person they are. But it comes into play. Yeah. So what do you need to trust? What do you need to trust an organization? Is that it clear enough when we haven't had this conversation? Maybe what do you need? What do you need?
I wonder if it's like what builds your trust in an organization? What
do you need in place to trust an organization? Or
And do you want to say it's like for new organizations or
the way I'm thinking of it is for it to be as broad as possible. So like, we'll probably start out with maybe some examples of like, well, here's what caused me to lose trust in an organization. So the opposite of that. And then on top of that, maybe things we haven't seen. Like for me, I have a lot of questions because it's not just what do you need in order to trust an organization. What I think a lot of us are getting at is what do you need both to trust the outcome and to be willing to contribute both your time and or like actually, some money on Patreon or Kickstarter or whatever. What do you need to see? What questions do you have? What makes you go from there to like, oh, okay, I'll support that. And
so maybe because this is also our first one, do we want to focus that? Do we want to pick, because that's going to be all very different, right? Who do I trust to fund their project? Who do I trust to use their product once it's in existence? Who do I trust to be part of creating their project with my time? Yeah. And once it's already out there and I have no involvement in it, but I want to be just a customer, right? How do I?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to start broad and just say, what do you need to trust an organization? And then people can say what that means to them. Somebody else might say like, here's what, Google could do to make me trust them. And then somebody else can say, well, a brand new organization, here's what I would need to trust that organization.
And I think that is generally how I word it, is it's not a you, it's an I. So what do I, because you're answering the question, right? It's like, what do I need to trust an organization?
Yeah.
It's a little, just this slightly different wording, but all right. So next week, 11 a.m., Idea Cafe. And we can post it in the projects or just the projects, actually, I think, because then those are the people we want to have coming to the Idea Cafe.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a good way, but I'll post under it an example of like regular Idea Cafe. So people who haven't seen one can kind of get a feel for, and because they're all Game B ones anyway for the last like 2 months, we got a lot to choose from that are Game B-esque. Yeah. All right. And then tomorrow's project raising, the week after solution raising, which I'm putting up the question for. We have more than half an hour left. So if we wanted, we can, like I said, this could be a hybrid. We can discuss the other thing on the agenda, which was, topics. Or these are topics we want to discuss in future Idea Cafes, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we could just continue doing that and brainstorm topics and just keep this being more of a board meeting, or we can talk about code of conduct and poking holes in the Omega rule. Because I feel like with that topic, I want other people to poke holes in the Omega rule. Like the three of us, I think, are comfortable poking holes in projects and, you know what I mean? Like in each other's. Right. And it's like when you bring your baby to us and us being all of us, I want to poke holes in people's projects and I want people to poke holes in my projects, but I don't want to poke holes in people's projects that don't want holes poked in them. Right. So it's how much truth do you want on your project? And what is comfortable and what's not comfortable, and how do we actually put that into place using Omega rule and yet not using Omega rule, right? So
yeah, I think the start of the answer of that is what's the purpose of the session. If you don't want to poke holes, don't bring your project to project raising. If you just want people to say good things about your project, you have a mirror at home. Like go handle that. If you're actually trying to build it and move forward and do stuff like that, in my mind, like I wouldn't attend something that someone is like, I don't want any negative feedback or constructive criticism. Just tell me good things. Like, that's cool. That's fine that you want that. I'll pass.
I feel like I'd be really cool if someone came and said that. I would then know the rule and be like, okay, I can do that. The issue is when people feel that and in no way communicate that, and then you're poking holes in it. And it's so it like, they feel hurt and they feel not poking. Well, I mean, even when we first introduced project raising, it was actually it was like, we'll practice Omega rule. We'll tell you about the beauty of your project. and then you say the aspirations, right? If part of your aspirations are clearly things we need to poke holes in, then we almost we can't meet that aspiration without doing that. But if the aspiration is help me find the value in this, then we're not finding the opposite, right? We're not finding the holes, we're finding the value. But I want permission to poke holes. Like I want them to be like, yes, anything goes.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to guess as a participant, right? I want to know what the level is that you want.
Right. Yeah.
Holes poked in, and for my project, I want holes. I want you to just point out anything.
If we almost provide like a menu of like, here's the kinds of feedback we can offer, pick which ones, as opposed to like only good things. I only want positive feedback, and for you to say that my idea is great. There's multiple ways that you can frame feedback. Like instead of saying that won't work, saying, have you thought about this? It's not really poking a hole, but it still kind of is. And so it's like, how do you want that framed?
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to avoid I only want good things. Just tell me my idea is great and that I can keep going.
Well, there's times in a project where it's not of much value to point out all the potential problems, but to try and add, depth to the idea or something and add value. And I also sometimes find it's counterproductive when people talk about, Adriel, when you said, have you thought about this? Now, a lot of that's good, but every once in a while, it's like, oh, have you thought about doing this? It's like in the same area of your project, but completely unrelated to what you're doing. And it's like, yeah, that's a good idea, but it's not what I'm interested in.
Right. Yeah. I think all the feedback should be going back to what they want to get out of it. And so like, if you're trying to get out, I'm trying to get funding. Oh, okay, great. So we'll keep that in mind. And you say, okay, well, there's this thing you might be able to do that isn't really what you're doing, but it's like parallel or analogous or close enough and might help funding. So, but you wouldn't say that if that wasn't what they wanted.
Yeah. So maybe if we do keep kind of the concept of asking, what are your aspirations or what do you want out of this? And have them mention that they should probably say, I want critical feedback as one of those things on the idea. Or if I just want to brainstorm how to meet this goal, so it's closer to a solution raising than a project raising, where they might have a germ of an idea or have started. And that way we can kind of get a feeling and maybe propose a couple of those aspirations for people to choose from.
Because part of what is the issue I find when I'm interacting with somebody on my idea, I don't have a problem with them poking holes in it at all. I want to have an hour-long conversation where they're poking holes in it. The issue is if every conversation is always that, then they're poking the same holes in it again and again and again. And it's like, I've dealt with it. Yes, I've thought of that. Yes, I've done. And so part of it is like, it's not don't poke holes. It's like, yes, I get that. I get that's a problem. We'll figure that out later. Or I have figured it out, but I'm not getting into that now. And part of this is for the project raising, right? When someone brings their project, they can give us their aspirations. But part of this is also for the Facebook group. What is the code of conduct of like posting in there about your project? I think yay. But with that there, how much are we poking holes in it? And what kind of holes? Right,
like the community rules for if I post about WikiElection in-game B projects, the kinds of comments that we're wanting, like what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what's the point, what's like, not even necessarily the rules around what's involved, but like what do we actively want? What kind of feedback do we want? Is that?
Yeah, because I mean, the Facebook group itself isn't really the place to get every poke a hole and then fix the hole and then poke, like it's just not designed for that type of conversation, right? It's even like the Facebook Messenger is hard to do, to have that be unwieldy. And then the ones with more holes, you're going to get the algorithm, it's going to be higher anyway. And it's like, how often does WikiElection get, like, I think that if you have a problem and you want help, right, to say, hey, theoretically, hopefully we know what WikiElection is, right, already. And then it's like, this is the thing I'm dealing with. And posting that sounds great. And then we can help you because you've asked an actual question. Or you post what is WikiElection. and then you put the call out for what you want, right? Like if I'm posting my ideas, I want people to comment because I want the algorithm to be increased, but I don't want to have the conversation there because I don't find it useful. I want to have an actual conversation.
Yeah. I think the conversation in the group should be trying to arrange these kinds of meetings where it's like, we all have projects. What goal are we trying to solve? Oh, we're us three are trying to solve the same thing. Great. Let's set up some kind of a live stream or arrange some kind of a more in-depth conversation that's not through Facebook comments, because that's not very useful.
Yeah. This is all kind of making me think back through the hundreds of conversations, just like you two, where you're trying to explain the project and it's a very frustrating experience. Some of that is because it takes a while for us to learn how to express it in a way, but also a lot of people do too. Like I can imagine, Adriel, when you do your idea and someone comes and says, "Oh, that's never going to stop all misinformation." And you're like, well, okay, yeah, I don't do miracles, but it will make the world better.
Yeah,
right.
So
I'd almost like to say, let's just have a blanket understanding that no one's project is going to be perfect and has to solve the problem 100% to be useful.
I think it's very reasonable to make a list of feedback that's not useful. Like that's not a perfect solution. That's not useful feedback.
Right. Yeah. So I think it'd be good to make a little guidebook of that, and also not, like Jubilee was saying, you don't have to have a solution to every potential. I mean, a lot of people seem to be just like, here's a wall you're going to have to climb over. Here's a wall you're going to have to climb over. And it's like, yeah, I may not have seen that wall, but I'm not, every mention of the wall, they phrase it like that's a reason not to do it.
Right, like this is going to stop you, as opposed to have you thought about this?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to work up a short document on here's some feedback that's not generally useful and how to get that same idea across, like Adriel, like you said. Have you considered this yet?
Right, and I think that'll end up being sort of a living document where, as we're going through this for various projects, we're going to end up identifying kind of stages where we're like, okay, so your project is in this stage based on the kinds of content and the your capability to explain it. Like if you're having problems explaining your project, okay, then you're not at this stage yet, you're here or earlier, because in order for you to be at stage 3 or 4, you need to be able to explain it high level in 10 seconds. Oh, okay, cool. So then we'll go back a stage and start talking about your framework and sort of help it hash out. And then as you get further along, you're more like, you probably have a catalog of here's the things people have asked and here's the common answers to it. Let's not handle the questions that this person has already answered. And so there will probably be a bit of like pre-research before we actually do those, where we're saying, all right, here's, a 10-minute review of their article on their project to say, here's the common questions, here's the answers. Let's not cover those questions because I've got those handled.
Yeah, and I think the more, what's the word? Structure the person posting for feedback gives, the better. Like how we have them set out aspirations, right? Like what I'm looking for is overall feedback. What I'm looking for is you to tell me I'm the savior of humanity. All right, just like I don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Cool. At least you had to write that out. Good.
Yeah.
Just accolades. Where's my cult members?
Yeah. Because
and what stage it's at? Sorry, Bentley, go.
Yeah, sometimes you just have an idea and it's like you've kicked it around and and sometimes you don't want critical. It's more like, what can we do to make this happen? And so, so maybe defining some stages and kind of getting guidance.
Honestly, it may end up being just like we'll have a catalog of like who knows what. So if we're saying, oh, you want a session on funding, great. We have these three people who have done funding and who are experts and blah 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 blah. You may also have here's the experts, here's their skill levels, and here's the kinds of feedback that they tend to give. Like that person's a hole poker. If you don't want holes poked, don't talk to them because that's what they're going to do. That's their skill set.
Yeah. I'm that. I don't know how to not. Like, I'm like, do you want all the things that are wrong with it? Because that's what I want to do. It's is a skill set if you want that, and horrible if you don't.
And there might be a good questionnaire also before we do, and maybe this is good for the project raising at some point, is like, what are some common feedback that you get that you have answers to? And do you want to take a little bit of your time up front to cover that? Or do you want to just know that you have a thought it'll be solved in the future, but it's not the focus of this? Yeah.
Right. And then also, what happens if we have their like, here's the questions and here's the answers, and we read it and we're like, that doesn't answer that question? Because that's very possible. We're like, that doesn't really get the explanation. Like, where it's almost challenging their stage, for lack of a better term. Like, you think you have this sorted, we all read it, and none of us understand it.
Yeah.
So maybe
it depends on whether they want to explore that right now, because they may know their answer is not great. Right.
Yeah. I think the other part to keep in mind is that this isn't just about the project that's coming on. This is also about our, the TogetherTec journey of figuring out what does it take to assess a project, to be able to sort of structure them, to be able to set out what are the stages, like to be able to set up what kind of feedback actually leads to useful learnings. If we go through 5 of them, we're like, you know what? Poking holes works. Like, it's given us our best stuff. Why are we doing this if we're not trying to move things forward? And you might end up with here's the kinds of feedback. If you really don't want this, okay, here's the other options, but they aren't as good in our explanation. You don't want those either. Okay, this isn't the session for you, because here's what we're trying to get out of this session as well. It's not just about what the project wants out of it. It's about trying to build that framework.
We can quite possibly, not necessarily the 3 of us, but the bigger group as a whole, have different types of sessions that are like, this is a project raising when you're looking for funding. This is a project raising when you're looking for marketing. This is like a beginning, you just had the problem and it's your baby solution, because it's like very helpful actually to poke holes in the baby solution because nothing's been done yet. Right. And so like, it's both helpful and not helpful depending on the person. Whereas, hey, this is my app and I'm releasing it tomorrow. And you're like, did you think about that? Like, I don't care if it breaks it. Let's just release it because the work's been done. The money's there, right? Like, CubeSpawn needs $250,000 to move forward. Saying don't start isn't an option, right? Like, it's like, you've already put in all of this time. And yet, I know on Dragon's Den and stuff all the time, it's like, no, stop. You've put in all of your family's money, and this is not a profit project. And it's up to that person to kind of like listen or not and decide, is this worth the risk, right? It's different because we are attempting game B. So it's like, in the case of CubeSpawn, it might not be financially lucrative for James to continue. For the planet and society, I really want him to continue. Right. And so it's like, that's part of like the meta project. How do we fund things? How do we get people's projects made that have huge impact, that need more funding or don't have the story figured out, don't have the media piece, right? That it's not the charismatic leader that wants to be on YouTube and wants to get followers in that way. Right. It's smart.
Yeah. Although I was just thinking it would be interesting to have a YouTube channel that features these projects so they don't have to do it, which is kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But take it a step further and, have like, okay, so here's our monthly update from this person and talk about where their project is. That might be interesting to watch and get the following.
What we end up with is like, this might be once we have a couple projects on board, somewhere on the TogetherTec website, there's like project profiles where it's like, here's wiki election, here's who's involved, here's where it's at, here's the content, blah, blah, blah. Here's reason score, here's who's involved, here's where it's at, here's the content. And so as we bring projects on, we're like, for example, here's like the funding conversation for reason score. Wait, why are they talking about funding? Where's this at? Oh, you can go watch the other 8 sessions that we've talked about region score over here if you want to be able to see each of the stages that it went through and the timeline. Or if you just want to see where we're at now, just watch the live session or watch the most recent one.
Yeah. So when you talk about marketing, there might be group marketing ideas.
Yeah, so I think you'd almost end up with like a database that you can look at multiple ways where you're like, oh, I want to see all the marketing sessions because that's what I'm interested in. Great, here's the 4 projects that we've talked about marketing for. Or you say, I want to just see what Reason Score is up to. Oh, okay, here's the 5 things that we've had on Reason Score. One of them is marketing.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that's still all kind of process based.
Yeah.
I think there could be value in just creating short 5-minute videos on each project every month on the status update and do it in kind of like a, like a news reporter.
Yeah.
And the beat is this game B project space.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and especially if it was like 5 minutes maximum, try to keep it under 2, but like 5 minutes maximum. Tell us what you got up to in the last month, right? Where is it? What do you need? Like we can have it. I would like to have a format for it, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't follow the format, okay, but like name of my project is going to be in the title. It's like what did I say I was going to do last month? I don't know what the format actually is, but having a format would be helpful.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is that conversation that started in, I think it may have just been Game B, where now they're talking about like, how do we build our own crowdsourcing platform? This seems like we're basically starting to plan the project page, where like, if you're going to go look at the profile for Reason Score, what kind of content is on there? One of the big things is here's the most recent update from Bentley on Reason Score. So if you want to see where it's at, great, go watch that 2-minute video. Oh, hey, we're doing this, we've talked about this, our next step is this.
Although the concept I was thinking of was just a little different. It's not necessarily from that person. It's more from, here's a journalist. They're known for creating content and their beat is this. So it'd be helpful to those founders who are looking to make people aware of what's going on,
right?
But they may not have the skill set to run a YouTube channel.
I kind of like that.
Or the time.
Yeah.
I think if that person comes about, that would be awesome. Like if that's someone's skill set where they're like, I love talking about other people's projects and I can make it succinct.
Right.
And they're part of this so that it's, you know what I mean? They understand what's going on with Reason Score. They understand. It's like they have to get the information and then do that. Yeah. For now, it makes more sense to have the person with the project do it and honor. We're all going to be completely different at our skill level in just doing that, right? Yeah. Like, here's where it's at and here's what I need. And that's part of kind of, at least my vision of TogetherTec is like, right now under Game A, you have to be everything for your project. You have to be the spokesperson. You have to be perfect. You have to, and it's like, that is broken in and of itself. You know what I mean? Like James Jones is amazing at the engineering stuff. I want that project to exist. He might not be the best at being the person to go into meetings and get funding or to go into meetings, you know, like, and yet he should absolutely be the person doing what he's doing. And I'm the same way for my stuff. I'm like, I can think this shit in my sleep. I can come up with tech ideas that can change the world. I can't make them and I can't even communicate them, and that's broken. Like, it's like, that doesn't work. You can't have an idea and not be able to communicate it and hope it gets into the world. But I'm figuring that piece out. But like showcasing that journey as well of like, even if you can't communicate it for now until someone comes on board and wants to communicate yours. And we do that. And we find the holes, right? Someone needs marketing for this. Someone needs this. And it's finding the people for the projects and the projects for the people.
Right. Yeah, I think one of my goals for TogetherTec and the Meta project is to sort of have that library of like, here's things that, you know, each project is trying, or some of the projects are trying, right? So some of them might be, some of them are trying doing project raisins. Some of them are trying this monthly update video. Some of them are trying this. And then you can see who's trying it. You can see the content and you can sort of see their feedback on, you know, if they think it helps, if it's easy to do, how much time it's taking them, how many views it gets, like whatever kinds of things we want to track to see if it's working. But in my mind, that's one of the things that TogetherTec can give to projects is that library of like, here's some ideas that, you know, the various project owners have started doing and that they wanted to do. And then here's other projects, like if Bentley starts doing the monthly update video and I see that, I'm like, I like that. And then I start doing it. And then somebody else sees it and they start doing it. So 5 out of the 10 projects have it. Great, let's track that. Let's, you know, have some spot to show it and blah, blah, blah. And you can show it on the project itself and you can show it wherever else, but start to build that library of like, here's ideas of what we're doing to, you know, both communicate where the project is at and possibly build a following.
Yeah. Different options. No, I like it. And it can be Possibly. I mean, we could even be on the Facebook page. I mean, just posting it is one thing and it's going to get lost and it's going to be, but having like a document where it is like, this is figuring out how to do that in a spreadsheet or how to do that where it's like, here is, I don't even know if you can link a spreadsheet on Facebook. I think you can. Like here's all Bentley's ones and here's the dates, right? And if it's not filled out, like if Bentley doesn't do those ones, it's not going to be filled out. If he does them every 3 months, you're going to see that it's every 3 months.
Could also do is like if we're saying, okay, every month we want the update, great. On the 1st or last or 17th day of the month, we put like a pinned post in that channel saying, okay, everybody post your updates here. And then A, that thread gets popular, and B, you can sort of see everyone who's posting. At a certain point, it gets unwieldy. And in my case, that's what I want. I want to start having those problems of like 38 people just posted their updates. Let's move this somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, sounds like a good option. And having it be the normal that it's a video one, right? That it's like, and yet if you're not comfortable with that, do voice, do text, right? Like it's like, do what you can, but it's like hierarchy of videos the best because we can see you, we can get to know you, the trust is established. And it doesn't necessarily need to be outside of this group, right? Like you can post an unlisted YouTube video and we can watch it and nobody else will. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. Or post it publicly so all your people can see it. Right. And it's like partly having that level and having it be, like, I mean, even if we just start doing that, right? I'm like, I don't even have a project. My project's all the meta projects. So it's like everything. My project's me. I just changed my YouTube channel name from Crowd Democracy. The Jubilee saves the world by meandering through life. It's like, it's on brand. It's exactly what I'm doing.
I also think it's important to treat the meta project like a project. So if you want to be the one to do that update, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I don't know how that's the other part. I'm like, updating, what have I done? Has it been a month? It's like, it's been a week since the Kyle Cease thing and dealing with the neighbor drama. And I'm like life is both very slow for me and super fast at the same time. Like, it's like, okay, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying life. Our fire alarm was going off for 2 nights in a row. It's like, I don't know how to give see, I just did it. I don't know how to give the update on the project without also updating you on my life, which is why my channel now works without TogetherTec there. As I'm just going to save the world where I meander through life. Don't mind me. But yeah, I can figure it out. I can figure out how to do the meta project one, right? Like, hey, we did a Facebook group, right?
I think at least for the first while, it's better if everyone is kind of doing their own spin, because then we start to get an idea of, okay, people love Bentley's updates. What is he doing? What's unique about his updates that people just love them? Yeah. And then the ones that Adriel does, no one cares, even though people like the project. Like you start to learn what works and what doesn't. And then every time you post okay, let's do our monthly updates, that post will also link out to like the proposed instructions. Like, here's the things that we want. Here's alternate ideas that people are trying. Just some general, like, if this is the first one you're doing, go read this. Okay, great. Here's the framework. It should be as sort of as short as possible and concise. And like, here's what like we heavily ask people to do, even, being on video is not required, but heavily recommended. And then other things are like just random things you can try if you want.
Yeah, I like it. If I can, I'll do, so if we want to take on over the next week, once Bentley's back on camera and can agree, and we let Jonas know as well, to just do a first video, right? And if we post that post in Facebook in the Game B projects and for the call out, and then we post under it our update for our projects, which I can do the meta project one, and then the Idea Cafe itself is kind of also one, but the meta project's a project and it needs to have someone represented. So I'm willing to be that person. Idea Cafe is my project only because I don't have another one, right? Like, it's like, okay, well, it's something to move forward and I'm here to have a conversation. I'm here to just like live my life and figure it out. And it's a weird update and I have a YouTube channel and I'm okay. Like, but I mean, I can do one for Idea Cafe. Like, here's what I plan on doing in the next month. And here's where it's at right now.
If you're doing it for Idea Cafe, we can also alternate through us, because the TogetherTec may also be a good example of a more complex project, because A, it's a project about projects, and B, there's already more of us. Like, that's something unique about it. I think a lot of the other projects don't have. almost all the other projects that I've seen are like, it's one person, it's their baby. TogetherTec already has a board, which I don't think many others do. And so we actually have the ability to say, like, it's all three of us, all four of us, and whoever else joins. Then we can start to say, like, oh, here's what we're trying for multi-people projects. And that's, probably a later stage, or like one of the things to track on a project is there's more than one project owner. Here's how we're handling that.
Yeah, that's true. So can we do a guideline? I mean, we have like 10 minutes left. A guideline of what we want in those monthly.
I think we just do our own first, because if we're all just doing our own, I think the only guideline is under 5 minutes.
Under 5 minutes. Okay.
And like, preferably under 2, but like definitely under 5.
But I guess, like, what are we covering in that? Is it literally anything, or is it like, hey, explaining it because we've never explained? I think because I actually did, and it wasn't, nobody caught. I can even delete it, and we could do a new one. Yeah. But like, what is your project? And I listed a few things. It was like, what's your name? What's your project? Right. Where's the link outside? And nobody answered. It might have been too much stuff. But like, hey, if we're like, upload an explainer video, not a professional one, you'll see. It's not perfect. Like, it's like this level of, hey, what is TogetherTec? What is Idea Cafe?
Right.
Which is, because that's not the where we're at, but you kind of need that to get to the where we're at, right? And then it's like, and then the next one is like, where are you, right? Where are you right now? What stage is this at?
So maybe we want like you should include your elevator pitch at the start of your explainer, and like that. So and we might end up not having that be everyone, because maybe that's too much. But we'll all start out with, okay, you start out with your elevator pitch, and then you go into like where your project is at. The first one will probably just be where it's at right now, and then future ones are what's moved since the last update, and / combination of where things are at now. Like if there's any thing that might bridge multiple videos and sort of current project, or sort of like current a project within the project, a task. I guess is a better way of saying that. What task you're working on right now, etc.
Yeah. So for the first, because we're putting the call out to the group to do these, that like, give us your elevator pitch, give us your brief explanation for what your project is, who you are, and like, hey, I'm Jubilee, I'm representing this month the metaproject, which is, we've been meeting for a few months. We are figuring out what tools are going to be in common that we all need. What solutions can we solve together? How can we create OmniWin solutions from day one? We just started the Facebook group. We're doing trial and error as we go, and hopefully having fun along the way, right? And that is where we're at. It's like both the kind of the explainer and where we're at. And then what we're looking to do is have more people join and get involved in the meta project to the much as they want to, so it can also help their personal project, their individual project. But that it's like the explainer, the elevator pitch, and where you're at, right? We're at the beginning stages, and yet we're pretty far along.
Maybe what we do is the three of us before, or I guess what we're doing the other session next week. So before the next board meeting in 2 weeks, we all do our own. And then we watch each other's and and figure out notes on like, oh, okay, I like what Bentley did there. Oh, I didn't like what Bentley did there. Oh, I like what Angel did there. I didn't like what Angel did there. Figure out what we think, what we like across all of them. Talk about that in the next board meeting, and then use those videos and us actually doing it to come up with the list of, okay, the 5 minutes worked, or not even the 5 minutes was too long, or the elevator pitch worked, but this one was too long and that one was maybe too short, and like start to use real examples to build the framework for, okay, so we just did our first round of these. Here's what we learned. We're asking anybody else that also wants to do this, go make, your own video, either just make it on your own if you want us to learn from that, or if you want to follow our first framework, here's what we learned from round one.
I definitely don't want to wait 2 weeks for us to do this in the Facebook group. I want to have people submitting videos right away, because whatever, even if they're horrible, if they're unlisted, we're watching them internally, right? So it doesn't necessarily, in fact, I want them to kind of be horrible. Like, I kind of want to be like, this is how unprofessional it is. You don't need to get a videographer and edit it, and it's like, stumble on your words, your elevator pitch is crap. Cool. Where are we going from here? Right? Like, it's like, and that is part of it. It's like the explainer video. This is the best I got. This is the 30-second elevator pitch. It's going to change from time to time, like every time I say it. And here's where we're at. And if I did another one, it would be probably completely different because it's not scripted. You could script it if you wanted to, right? But then we're having more of the meta conversation on what worked, what didn't, right? Like, hey, I watched yours, Bentley. Here's what I liked. And here's all the holes I'm poking in it.
So are we saying do a 30-second pitch for every update video or just the first? And also
for the first especially. So this is like, tell us what your project is and where you're adding your project. And FYI, we're going to be looking to do these monthly, right? So part of that is do the first one. And then when we know where you're at, next month, where are you at? What happened? Nothing. I didn't touch it. I was super busy, right? That's your update.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. most of the videos, they'll assume that the person has at least watched the first one. So they have the context, and then it's just an update.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the very first video is like an extended elevator pitch. And then I would plan on every video, like, 10, 15 second elevator pitch, like super short, right? Like in mine, it's trying to fight misinformation in politics, science, and news. That's it.
Yeah.
And then I would go into blah, 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 blah. But the first one might be a little bit more, in the politics and news and this, like do it a bit more because it's the first one. And then you can go into where things are at. And we'll figure that out over time too. Like if, I've watched 3 or 4 Bentleys, might be like, oh, okay, it actually does make sense to have the elevator pitch, or maybe that's a separate thing, or we can figure it out as we're doing them. Especially if we're watching each other's, then we can start to be like, okay, I get it. Like,
yeah,
maybe we don't do the elevator pitches now.
Yeah, I like the idea. Sometimes when you're catching up with a project to binge watch, and the less of an intro and an outro, the easier the binge watching is. I've actually wanted to. It'd be neat. There might be a way to do this actually, but like in Netflix, you can skip the intro and the what happened last episode, right? Mm-hmm. So kind of that, where like here's a stream of everything, and then if I think that people are going to stumble across an individual video, I might choose to throw a header, an opening and a closing or something. But yeah.
Which depends, right? If I give my elevator pitch at the beginning of each one and I watch it and I know that was 30 seconds and then I share it from the 30-second mark, if you don't know, you can go back. And if you do know, you just watch forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think what we can also do is if we do, 3 to 5 videos with an elevator pitch, we might each just go through our videos, pick our favorite one and make that a standalone video. And then that can be used in context for everything. You want to know what wiki election is? Great. Go watch this 30-second elevator pitch. You've seen it 30 times. Okay, don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
And then each video going forward is just like, hey, Angel here talking about wiki election last month, blah, blah, just dive right in.
Yeah. Solving problems we don't have yet, right? But like when I can't keep people straight and it's already going to be there if there's 20 people in there. So having a spreadsheet, having something that is, here's the people, here's their project. Here's the people, here's their project, here's an explainer video.
Right.
And just that simple. Then possibly once we have more where I'm giving you the explainer video and my first where I'm at in my project, and then every monthly one after that, that's spreadsheet, right? I'm one column and it's like binge watch me. Awesome.
Right. Yeah. And as you said, it's still like solving problems before we get there. The first 3 videos or 5 videos, let's just have our elevator pitch in all of them. And then when it gets annoying and when we're like, all right, this is too much, then we can say, great. Hopefully then we also have 10 other projects and we can start to build that spreadsheet of here's each project, here's the link to just their elevator pitch. Here's, just a quick text intro of what it is if you don't feel like watching a video. And then here's the actual, their playlist or their channel on their YouTube channel showing all these videos.
Yeah, sounds good. Although I do really like solving problems we don't have yet. It's my favorite.
It's the fun part.
I want to solve all the problems we don't have yet. He wants to solve the problem we have right now. That's so hard. He's like, it's not. That's kind of the problem. It's like, oh, the next step, the adjacent possible. Life is like too easy. I want it to be more difficult. It didn't say that. Don't do that.
There's the quote of the day.
Just say that. All right, we are at the hour. So one of us who wants to take on posting it, kind of the basic instructions in the project's Facebook group. And then the rest of us are going to put our videos under it so that people can see this is what it looks like and we're participating and it helps the algorithm and hopefully other people participate as well. But if they don't, great. It's 3 of us and
I'm fine with posting it. I can be the one. I'll post it tonight, and then I won't actually post my video until probably the weekend. But that way, we all kind of have some time to have the instructions, talk about the instructions if I missed something, and then hopefully over time we'll start to see some videos trickle in.
cool. Yeah. So it's just the call out for the video, less than 5 minutes, explainer, and where you're at in your project.
Right.
And then we'll be looking to do these monthly to update you on your project.
So I don't forget.
Or yeah, is monthly good, or do we want to start weekly to one have more content, and then if they get to be too much, because you don't. I don't know. Do I want to do?
I think monthly is good because my end goal is to have a library of these things. Where like I'm doing monthly, but I'm also doing my bi-weekly live stream. I'm also going to be doing something else, and I want to sort of have like a collection of these things I'm trying, and then over time, if we find that part of the feedback is, you know what, that's so quick and it seems useful, it might end up being a weekly thing.
Okay, so monthly, we might go to weekly. Instead of weekly, we might go to monthly.
Right.
I'm better with that. I got a lot going on. I don't really want to commit to a video every week. There's a lot of other things. Center video, awesome. I'm going to post the quiz up in Facebook, right? In the Game B one, not quiz, wow, poll for, what was it for? For our next project, solution raising. Which I want to be on healthcare, but I'll let the people decide. I'll talk on any of them. And do we want that one, the project raising, to be at 2 p.m. or 9 a.m.? So that's not tomorrow, it's a week from tomorrow. Do you want to try 2 p.m. for the project raising?
I'm fine with either.
Raising? How about you, Bentley?
So that would be the Saturday after the Saturday.
Yeah, so like the 6th or 7th?
So
6th or 7th?
I think 7th.
Tomorrow's the 29th.
Yeah.
And then 7th?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so 7th. Yeah, I'm good then.
yeah, that should be fine.
All right, awesome.
I guess we can probably end this broadcast.
Yeah, all right. Goodbye, YouTube and
Bye.
Facebook. Goodbye, both of you, for the first time.